And we are live.
Hot diggity dog! That was a Satan's cul-de-sac. It was.
Yes, it was.
Um.
Oh, look at
Droplets of the Soul.
My book.
You have a book.
I do. My first novel, by the way.
How is it?
I think it's amazing.
But
I wrote it, so there's a little bias there.
The Fantasmagorium is proud to present Money, Murder, and Minnesota, a retrospective and review of all things Fargo. My heavens, anybody need a handsy? That's his name, right, Kat? Handsy? Yeah. Thank you. The award-winning Coen Brothers executive produced and Noah Hawley run FX series Fargo is what we are here for. So let's go. Kat is here. I am Scotty R37 and Steve is touched.
Good job.
Thank you, Kat. That's 2 jokes that landed with Kat in the first 2 minutes. You know what? I made fun this afternoon that I wasn't going to watch these episodes and I was just going to let Kat describe them to me because Kat, you are exceptional at describing these things. Yes. I enjoy your recaps incredibly. And I said I was going to do that. But the thing is that when it comes to spoilers, I think that there is something to actually experiencing the art for itself. And while I do appreciate every single one of your recaps for all of the things that we've watched, like, and not just this show, but like Batman and James Bond, like your recaps are second to none. And I adore them. But there is no substitute for actually seeing the work itself. It is art. And
which is why I always advocate that you watch what it is that we're talking about before I get to this recap.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for telling us all about it. But if you're just hearing about it through us, go check this stuff out. There's no spoilers.
No.
So Steve, how does your book end?
Well, I would tell you, but that would spoil the surprise.
Ah, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Steve, have you seen Fargo? Have you seen the television show Fargo?
I have not. I watched the first, I think, half hour of the very first episode of the very first season.
Sure.
And just never got back to it.
Okay. It's good.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
But it's like 100 other things. It's sitting on my watch list. You know.
Well, but you're a busy man. You've been creating art instead of consuming it.
I have been very busy creating art the last couple of months, year.
So what do you got? What have you been doing?
So I published the novel, Droplets for the Soul.
True story. I have a physical copy of it.
You do have a physical copy?
Yes.
We just got the audio version done about 3 weeks ago, a month ago. Yes. So it's on Audible right now.
And you didn't ask me.
No, I didn't. One, you don't have a professional booth.
True.
Two,
I'm also not professional.
I would have absolutely asked you to do it, but I wanted a female voice actor.
Oh, that makes sense. And
I found an amazing female voice actress, Hedy Parks.
Nice.
And they're Hedy Parks. Hedy, I think she pronounces her name. She was amazing.
As long as
brought the book to life. Great voice. She just did a wonderful job. And I'd like for everybody to check it out if they can. In fact,
absolutely.
I think we have some free promo codes for anybody who would like the book. Maybe you guys can give those out over the coming weeks.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And I don't want to give them out like Tic Tacs.
No.
We do owe the first one that I don't know. Who Who do you want? Like we've got Suzanne Eckstein in the chat. We got Captain Notfinity. Would you like him reviewing your literature?
Probably not.
Yeah. So
no, it doesn't matter.
no, it's fine. I love besmirching our audience.
However you guys want to hand these out, it's up to you. Your show. Right. There's more where that came from. But yeah, anybody who asks for one, we should probably, give one to.
Let's put it on request. Yeah, if you would care for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a cool book. I mean, obviously, it's my first novel. It's not going to, I don't expect it to break records, but I had the story banging around my head since I was a teenager. So it was nice to actually get it out, get it onto paperback and digital. And then, I really had a good time, kind of producing the audio version. It was fun.
Suzanne Eckstein in the chat says that she would care for a copy.
So I do have. So you can get copies on Amazon, anywhere books are sold. You can get a physical copy. But if you want a promo code for the audio version, contact the show and we'll definitely get you hooked up.
Oh no, I had them and then I lost them.
But we can definitely do that.
I've heard of them.
It's really good. Like I said, she did a fabulous job reading the book and acting it out, and it's really good.
Hang on 2 seconds. I'm in the middle of something, Ray.
And I believe it's about 8 hours, a little over 8 hours.
Wow.
For the read. Yeah, that's good.
So how does that work? Were you involved in the audio production at all, or was that just?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So basically, you go through an audition process. So you put a small audition script together, and then you put it out there, and then these voice actors will do the audition, and then it's just going through and finding the right voice that you think matches the work. And then there's different ways you pay them outright, or you can do a royalty split, some stuff like that. But once you decide on how that's going to work, then you put the manuscript out there. You give them the manuscript, and then they come back usually with notes. So the way this worked is she over the weekend read the whole manuscript and then came back with some notes, pronunciation, how do you want me to say these words and things like that, and just kind of work back and forth. For the most part, they produce their own stuff, right? But I was involved the whole way through, and then so you'll do a chapter or two, and then they'll put it up so you can listen to it, and then I can give her notes, and it kind of works back and forth like that until it's done. It was a great process. Awesome.
So now there's a code in the chat. If you are following us on YouTube, where do you use that code?
You just go to Audible. Just to Audible. Yep. That code will work on Audible if you're in the United States. Nice. If you're in the UK, I have some UK codes. Contact the show if you need a UK code.
Oh, that's a shame. Suzanne Eckstein in the chat says tried to reach out to you on X, but you don't allow messages. That doesn't. I don't know what's wrong.
That doesn't sound right.
I'm the one who works the thing.
Well, that explains a lot.
Yeah. So if it's broken, it's my fault.
Right.
Yeah. But it's not you. It's because I'm dumb. Anyway, that's fantastic, yo. This is great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm so glad we got to talk about, and it's we do have more codes that can go on. I don't understand the code thing. I am so analog. I want a cartridge.
It's just a promo. Go on to find
Audible.com
for the Soul on Audible. Use the promo code, and you'll get it for free.
Wherever audios are Audible.
No, it's got to be Audible. It's only on Audible for that. I don't think the code will work. It's on Apple, Apple, your Apple Books, but I don't know if the code will work there. Just use it on Audible and grab it, and you can download it from there if you don't.
Suzanne says no good.
Oh no, it should work.
Well, we will attempt to make these codes available.
Yep, I got a bunch of them. So if that one doesn't work, we'll try another one.
Well, give it a go.
But we should contact the show and not do it in the open. We'll do it behind the scenes.
Okay.
Because you never know who's grabbing it and using it.
It's usually pornographers.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway.
So that's good. The book is called Droplets for the Soul. It's an awesome book.
Yes.
My first novel. It's a sci-fi fantasy novel. It's actually considered a YA novel, young adult reader, but I think adults will enjoy it just as well.
I love Twilight.
Right. Right. Hopefully it's a little better than that.
Of course it's better than that. Don't put yourself down, sir. It's better than Harry Potter.
I mean, geez. Got that. And then we got, we have a Kickstarter right now. Kickstarter campaign. We got about 25 days left of the Kickstarter campaign for Satan's Cul-de-Sac graphic novel. I have amazing artists working on that. So check that out on Kickstarter. Support if you can. Digital copy's $5. So I think most people can afford $5.
Yep.
But there's some awesome art. There's a chance to get some high end art at different levels, and there's actually 2 tiers, I think, where you can if you want to have yourself drawn into the comic book, we'll do that too.
Oh man, someone is doing that to me against my will. So
that would be funny. That would be great.
It's not fun because there's going to be a lawsuit.
Right.
No, but that's fantastic. Like I enjoy. Do you? Is there physical like pages that you could purchase after the fact, or is it a digitally produced?
No. It's so yes. The digital copy is $5. We have 2 variant covers for the physical copies. And then I have some high end art from each of the cover artists. Interior artist. His name is Yuri, 17 years old. Amazing illustrator. So check it out. Satan's Cul-de-Sac on Kickstarter. Support us, help us out, help us get to that goal.
Suzanne Eckstein may have found a very interesting clause in the codes that I was given that you have provided.
Canada.
Could be the Canada.
I wonder if the UK code would work in Canada. Then I doubt it because I think it's separated. I think Amazon's separated.
Let's hope. The lovely Cherie is here. Cherie. I'm sorry for sounding like a balloon slowly losing air, but it's always exciting to see the lovely Cherie.
And besides that, I've been producing music. I just dropped another. I'm just getting ready to drop another track. So
nice.
House music. I've got about 12 tracks in the hopper. I'm working on another one right now. Should be ready here soon. So creating. Always creating.
See, and that's the thing is that for commentators, we are, and I consider myself a commentator, we are but barnacles upon the boat of creativity.
Well, sometimes you can be both.
Yeah, I know, right? It's fun.
Yeah.
So it's fun but also, Steve, big shout out to
Awesome.
Eugene Bird. What is the sticker? It is a hippopotamus that is mooning us with a joyful victory. So there's there is our rent for the month. Thank you so much, Eugene Bird.
Awesome.
I do have, well, actually, I don't even know. Do you live in the United States of Americas? Because I can. How do you want to collect your book, Eugene Bird? There's a book for you. It's an audiobook, but it's for you. How would you like that to be delivered? Let me know. And if you can't get a hold of me, please get a hold of my secretary.
All right.
Her name is Sly Snide on X.
All right.
I know she's excited for all of your phone calls. Anyway, are we let's finish up through the chat and then we're going to start up on the Fargos, yo?
That sounds like a plan.
All right. Affinity is cheersing Cherie, and also Cherie is being like, back at you, bud. Eugene says, watch out for that cringy hippo. Oh, no, he's not cringy. Little forward, not cringy. Captain Nofinity says, Scotty is too witty and not the main character. No, I'm not the main character, and also not as witty. Eugene Bird says, you are a great entertainer, me, and a great protagonist for yes. Kat and Jill. No, see, the thing is, I'm the guy who dies in the 7th episode. I was so scared for Carl Weathers. Episode 2, I thought Carl Weathers was going to die. I thought Ted Danson was going to die. This was such a tense, action-packed double feature of awesome. You know what? I had emotional breakdowns in the middle of it. I yelled at Steve and Kat in the middle of it. Like, I love this double feature so much. Kat, would you like to tell us about us?
I could tell you about it.
So I'll bid you.
You don't like spoilers. You don't like spoilers. And
I don't like spoilers. I do want to watch a show eventually, but
eventually, it's a good idea.
I'll leave you guys.
We're almost done the review show that you produce.
I know, right?
Yeah. I feel like, oh my God, I feel like Scooter from the Muppet Show.
It's still a great show. Whether I watch the shows or not, this show is still good. So have a good show, and
thank you, sir.
We'll be back soon.
Yeah,
awesome. Bye for now.
See you in the future.
Yes, in the future.
But fuck the future. We're in Minnesota. What's going on, Kat?
So Hansi goes back to Floyd to report on his investigation and tells her that yes, the police were right. Rye did kill the judge and the people at the diner. He got ran over in a hit and run, and it looks like they disposed of the body, possibly the butcher shop or whatever. But he phrases the butcher almost like a name, and Dodd has this interesting idea. He picks up on it very quickly, and he says, "Oh, the butcher, it's a code name for Kansas City." And Floyd's like, "No, I want to hear it from Hansi," because she knows not to really trust Dodd that much. And Hansi kind of looks over at Dodd, and Dodd kind of, looks back, and he's like, "Yes, ma'am. It was Kansas City. They did it. They've have the guy undercover as the town butcher in Laverne." And Floyd's like, "I don't understand." And Dodd's like, "Because they were playing us for fools from the beginning, Mom. They were never going to make a deal. They were just they were going to leverage the kid, and something went wrong. Maybe Rye tried to escape, and they accidentally killed him, and they panicked, but they've been fucking us from the beginning." And so she decides that, okay, now it's definitely war. And we cut to Brad Garrett playing Joe Bulow, and he's with the Kitchen Brothers, and
they're out,
like hunting pheasants or something. And they're talking, and they're kind of like, hanging out lackadaisical, whatever.
Wait, isn't this intermixed with Bruce Campbell playing Reagan?
Yes, we have Bruce Campbell is because
how did we bury the lead? Bruce Campbell is Ronald Reagan.
Yes, and he's not trying to do it like funny or comedic. He's like trying to play it straight. And Lou has been assigned to his security detail for the day, and Lou's giving a big speech, or Reagan's giving a big speech about America and how horrible it is. You got to wait in line for gasoline, all this kind of crap, and he's going on and on about all the grievances that people mostly agree with at that time. And this is intercut with, again, Joe Bulo and the Kansas City guys are out like hunting pheasants or whatever. And all of a sudden, they get ambushed by the Gerhardts. And one of them even screams, Gerhardts! And you get in this gnarly gunfight. The Kitchen brothers both have sawed-off shotguns, but Hansi runs up alongside one of them and just cuts his throat out right there, killing him. He thought he killed the other guy, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But
I thought they both died. The weird Russian twins or whatever.
And they kill like everybody.
Kitchen twins.
Yeah, the Kitchen brothers are really ruthless too, just going around pumping everybody with their shotguns, just not caring. Like, blood.
Oh my god, it was insane. I was so happy to see them kicking ass.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I was actually really surprised that, because like you, I thought on the first viewing that they were both done for. I'm like, wait, that's it? It's like I was like, oh, cool, Hansi, he's really got it happening. But I was surprised to find that one of them lives. But
yeah.
Brad Garrett as Joe Bulo is kind of a coward. He only takes like 2 shots and he starts fleeing into the woods. And he ends up getting back to the cars, which was not a smart idea to head back in that direction. And
you know what? He reminded me of Dave Foley in season 5.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the consigliere, and it's like when he died, I was like, yeah, I guess it makes sense.
Well, that's like, off screen, Hansi. He just sees Hansi standing there, and it's like, oh, geez.
Oh, but the thing is that when they open the box later on, I think it's in the episode after, and then Milligan touches the hair on the head because they had established that in the first one because of the shampoo.
Right.
Agreed. I was like, he touches it and he's like, yeah, I know who that is. I thought that was
another instance of Fargo where they head in a bag. That's the message.
Why not? All just for a bit of money.
As we saw in season 1 with Moses Tripoli at the not apprehended, dead. Head in a bag. That's the message. And somebody is doing the same thing here, sending the message, being Joe Bulo's severed head, in a hat box to Mike Milligan, who doesn't really know what to make of it. And Dodd's daughter comes to see him. And one of the Kitchen brothers is there, and he's obviously very upset because his brother's dead, and they got ambushed. And Mike is very nonchalant about it at first. And he's just kind of talking with her and, doing that typical Mike Milligan thing where he's just kind of, oh, yeah, it's kind of like, like you mentioned, he's kind of off a little bit. There's something about him.
Hang on.
Yeah.
We got to check in with the chat, or else people are going to get all, fucking pissy. Oh, no, we're nothing in the chat. And it's like, whatever. We can do this all without you. We've had Zoom calls. Anyway, Captain Infinity says he can't read, though. True story. I cannot. Herc 130 is here. And he says, hey, Flyboy. He says, this sketch has gotten too silly. Much too silly. Yes. I agree. And Eugene says, antagonist. I meant to say, haha. Agreed. Affinity says we can also see it's a clone Scotty. Yes, I'm not the real Scotty. I was in a transporter. I was transported, and luckily my transporter pod did not have a fly in it. DVB, hey, Trip. Effing A to see you, Trip. To Scotty Cat and Steve. Yeah, great. Eugene Bird says on your left, which is obviously a reference to Ned Flanders because he owned a left-handed store. I am scrolling through all of the rest of the chats that I find uninteresting so that Kat can get back to the description of the amazing show that is Fargo.
That reminds me, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I think it was a couple people who are in the chat right now were asking me what was on my t-shirt last time we were here a couple weeks ago.
You were wearing a shirt?
It was the green skull and crossbones. It says Mission Beach, established in California in 1926. And it says on one side it's not the size of the dog in the fight, and the other side is the size of the size of the fight and the dog. That was what my shirt said last time we were here. I didn't see those comments until after we quit live streaming.
So was it a gift?
No, I got it at Mission Beach on a trip in June 2013.
So you bought that shirt on purpose?
Yeah, I bought it at a
Why?
beach. Why not? I bought a shirt.
Well, what was the quote on your shirt?
It was the skull and crossbones. It said Mission Beach, California, established 1926. Not the size of the dog in the fight, size of the fight in the dog.
Okay, well, if it speaks to you.
Why did you buy that green collared shirt, Scott?
I stole it off a homeless person.
Okay, I believe that actually.
Thank you.
I think there was a third thing this whole sequence is intercut with. I can't remember what it is. But whatever. So yeah, so there was a massacre, and Mike Milligan is upset because he basically gets in.
There's a lot of Simone in this episode.
Yeah, he gets in Simone's face, and he basically tells her that if something happens, I don't want to be surprised. I want to know every move they make before they make it. Mm-hmm. Got it? And she's already opened the box and seen the head and been kind of scared. She basically understands and leaves.
Yeah. And
I admit my kind of respect or appreciation of Mike Milligan went down a couple notches because it's like Mike seems like a pretty cool customer, pretty smart guy. And yet he's basically really upset. I have to know everything in advance, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you seem smarter than that. Like, you don't need to know everything in advance. You're intelligent. You could probably figure it out.
Do you think Mike's not in love with Simone?
No, of course not. I think he's just...
She's a pawn.
I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just saying, even at my first viewing, I suspected he's just using it. Because they never do establish in the show how they met, like how this came about. But, and another thing...
I told you he was a black guy and she wanted drugs. It was the 70s. It makes sense to everybody.
Another inconsistency with season 4, granted season 4 came afterwards, is he says that his mother, he talks about his mother briefly, and he says her name was Barbara. But Milligan, he says.
Yes.
Which, no, her name's Cannon. That's the family name. Yeah, Mike changes his name.
But what was her first name? What was her first name? I was curious about this.
I actually couldn't remember what her first name was, but I knew her last name.
Do I have to look this up? I'll look this up.
I could look it up faster because I got it right here.
Yeah, no, you're probably better at this.
But I just noticed that, again, obviously season 4 came after season 2, but when you're writing like that, you have to take into account all the information previously available to make sure you remain consistent. And I get that Mike Milligan would change his name from Mike or from Cannon to Milligan. I don't know why.
I do know why.
Why his mother would change her name to Milligan?
No, I understand why a young boy who is remembering his mother chooses to, like, let's not forget, Mike's father was knifed to death by his aunt.
Oh, yes, right. Her first name is Buell.
Buell?
In season 4, Loy's wife, Mike's mother, her name is Buell Cannon.
Buell. I don't even know if that works as a
I can't remember if she just lied and changed her name to Barbara, but anyway, it was just an observation that I made. That's like, this happens often when people write prequels. They don't like pay attention to all of the tiny details to try and get it consistent, but whatever.
So that's a criticism of season 4 as opposed to a criticism of this season.
No, it's just that because I had not gone back and watched season 2 since seeing season 4. It's the first time I've gone back to watch it since then. It's just something I picked up on.
Yeah, but in season 2, and so season 4 is the one who is mistreating the canon.
I'm wondering if it could have been deliberate, though. Maybe there's another story to be told about why the family changed their name, because we never do find out how Mike became part of the Kansas City mob. But it's like, okay, whatever.
I can guess.
Simone goes back home, and Dodd is upset because he had told her not to leave, and she had said, I'm going to go see a friend. And he tried to stop her at first, but now that she's back, he's getting in her face saying, when a kid talks out of turn, they get slapped. When an adult talks out of turn, they get the fist or the knife. And then Floyd is just standing in the doorway. Like, we're not having any of that shit here. It's like, we're done with that. Which I kind of...
Dodd is fucking around being like, you don't take no sass from no woman.
Well, it's also not his house.
When the head of the crime syndicate is mother. It's a matriarchal society. You fucking cunt.
Right, and it's not even
Sorry
his
about the
house.
C
So
word.
he can't put his foot down and say, "Oh, my house, my rules," because it's like actually it's your dad's house, and your mom's running things now, so you can't even do that. It's like, and the reason he's upset about he gets in Bear's face about the fact that Bear was talking to Hansi and thanking him for all the work that he's done for the family, and Dodd's like, "Oh, you don't talk to him. He only talks to me," and he insults and sheds light on the fact that Bear had a wife, Cassie, who's apparently died, and he insults her, and Dodd's like, "Oh, you like taking orders from a woman and Cassie and all that kind of shit," and Bear kind of stands his ground, but it doesn't escalate at first to a fight, because Bear just decides he's going to be the bigger man and tells him, brother, eventually everybody's going to get theirs. They're going to get just what they deserve, and it's going to come calling, and it's going to come for you too. And his brother's like, "Yeah, you're a moron." He didn't really believe anything, and Dodd just kind of walks off to give Hansi, more orders.
See, okay, you've seen this. You've seen this season.
Yes.
I know what happens to Dodd.
Did you read ahead?
You know what? I watched a YouTube video and it was like best of Hansi. And I was like, holy shit, he does a lot of cool shit. And then when I found out what he did to Dodd, I was like, I should not have watched this.
Why did you watch it when you haven't finished the show yet?
I wanted to see cool Hansi shit.
You're a moron.
I am a moron, and you knew that already. But anyway, so this is all very fascinating for me to sort of like see the progression. Like, I think it's so funny to see like Dodd is going hardcore, but Hansi is the one to watch. Hansi is our Lorne Malvo, but I almost feel like he's been put in a position where he deserves to be a vengeance.
Well, they already alluded to that in the previous episode when he's at the school.
So I'm not crazy.
Yeah, when he's at the school and the magician's there pulling the rabbit out of the hat, and the other kids are like, and he's just like, no. That's kind of like what Bear said when he said, "Oh, when Dad took you when you're 9 years old, he took you in, you never complained, blah, blah, thank you." And we're not really sure what Hansi thinks of this because he doesn't respond to Bear. He's just cleaning his gun or whatever. But you could tell because, again, I alluded to that this show being in the 70s alludes to a lot of stuff. We have the feminist type stuff going on with Peggy and her shtick. We got the corporate America with the Reagan coming and the Kansas City mob versus the Gerhardt family. And then you have, Mike Milligan, Black Power, all that kind of stuff. He's the enforcer. And then you have now Hansi, American Indian Movement. So they're alluding to a lot of things here, but in a way that feels natural to the story that they're telling, which is what I love about it. It's not like force-feeding messages. It fits in very naturally. It's like other show writers can learn a lot by watching the show in terms of how doing messaging properly without like shoving things down your throat or treating you like you're an infant and having to over-explain things, because this one doesn't do that.
But also, I think that this episode or this season it's making me like season 4 much more. And so, like, seeing sort of the parallels of power structures, I don't think they do it as well as they are here because Ted Danson. But it's like everybody, like the characters are better defined. Maybe I'm saying all Black people look alike. Who knows? But I know I'm not saying that, but it's funny. It doesn't mean anything. It's provocative. But I'm just saying, like, I appreciate all of this interaction, and it's making me like season 4 a lot. Like, I'm almost watching season 2 makes me like season 4 better than season 5. And you know how I feel about John Hamm. And he's a white guy.
Back on track.
Yes, please.
So that was a very bizarre track to go down.
Whatever, you don't care. You're not my supervisor.
So speaking of Hank,
yes.
He's talking to his daughter, and she's talking about how she thinks she got the pills that are not the placebo ones, but the actual trial drug, because it's been making her sick when she's taking it.
Yep.
And so that's like potentially a good sign, provided that it'll work.
I thought she was going to OD on them.
Really?
I'm waiting for that chick to die.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is an interesting storyline because, again, it's 19. There's still 27 years between this season and season 1, so
Yeah.
you could live and maybe it comes back later. You don't know, so we'll see.
It would be nice. It would be nice. But when Ted Danson got his head busted, I was like, please don't die. Please don't die.
But it's like, I noticed also in the scene where she's talking to him about, well, I think I have the real drug, the trial drug and everything. And then Molly comes up and shows her this picture that she's drawing, which shows, again, a flying saucer and like abducting people or whatever. And it's like, okay, we're continuing that, ufology, that other kind of 70s trend is still continuing. And it's like, did Molly see something too and is just writing it, or is she just doing it because of TV? Well, we don't really know. So that's kind of there. Meanwhile, we had another funny scene when Lou is getting ready to, take Reagan on his tour, his lecture tour, and Carl Weathers, our lawyer, played by Nick Offerman, is standing outside, and the mechanic asks him, "You gonna shake his hand?" He's like, "No, he did a movie with a monkey. That'd be uncivilized, and I'm not suspicious about him." And then, sure enough, the minute Reagan walks up to him, he just starts giggling like a little child and shakes his hand, saying, "I loved you in Cattle Queen of Montana." And Reagan's like, "Oh yeah, thank you. Not many people like that picture." And then he just starts giggling more like a child. Carl does as Reagan boards the bus. I'm like, oh geez, one of those people.
It cannot be
crying to everything that
Reagan says. And it cannot be overemphasized. If you guys aren't watching, like I'm saying this to the general audience, not to you, Kat, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like if you have an opportunity, even if you just want to see YouTube clips of Bruce Campbell playing Ronald Reagan, it's such a good time.
It is.
I would highly recommend it. I recommend the entire series, the entire show, this season in particular. But my heart swelled because I was seeing not only Bruce Campbell, but also Ronald Reagan being played not ironically, being played very earnestly. It was a really good presidential performance. I wouldn't say impression. I would say performance.
Yeah. Yes, you're right, Eugene. It is a rough gang. The the Gerhardts, everything.
Yes.
For sure.
I should hide that.
Another great.
I should hide Eugene Bird's comments.
These episodes are full of little character flourishes too. Like there's another great scene when Lou's still escorting Reagan on the lecture tour, and they end up in the bathroom at the same time. And Reagan asks Lou, what service were you in, son? And he's like, oh, I served Vietnam, 2 tours. And he's like, well, thank you for your service. I very much appreciate it. I remember back in 42, right when the war started, it was making a picture with Bob Stack, who was on loan from Paramount, called Operation Eagle's Nest, which is the movie that they were watching, Molly and them were watching on TV a few episodes ago. And he's talking about the plot of the movie, and it's like, Reagan, Lou, you just surmised is an actual war veteran, and you're talking about a movie, but okay. And then Lou says something rather poignant. He says that he feels that because Reagan mentions that every generation has their time or their war, or so to speak. And Lou says he feels that the sickness in the country, all the cynicism and all that kind of stuff is infected his wife, and that's where the cancer really comes from. And what do you do about it? And Reagan says, well, son, there's no problem in this on God's green earth that I don't think an American wouldn't be able to overcome. I sincerely believe that Americans can overcome anything.
And then Lou says
the most important question that nobody is ever smart enough to ask a politician. He's like, well, yeah, but how? And Reagan just kind of like and pats him on the shoulder and leaves the bathroom and has nothing to say, because that's at the end of the day what a politician is empty suit making empty promises.
It reminded me very much of the film The Buffalo Where the Buffalo Roam, and it stars Bill Murray as Hunter S. Thompson. And he goes into a bathroom and embarrasses himself completely as he explains and expounds on a plea for the doomed. And then it is punctuated at the end of that scene. And you should check it out too. It's on the YouTube. Actually, I don't think it is. See Where the Buffalo Roam. Anyway, he's saying this to Nixon, Bill Murray, as Hunter S. Thompson is, and then Bill Murray says, "Fuck the doomed," and that is exactly how I feel that the situation went in that. Well, how do I solve it as an American? And then the president, or at this point in our narrative, the governor of California is like, sure. What?
And it is kind of telling because as we saw in the very first scene of the season, waiting for Dutch, like literally waiting for him on the film set, and the whole cynicism of America waiting for something positive to come. And it's like, well, Reagan's here and he's saying all these positive things and he's chiming in with being sympathetic with everybody's concerns over, Jimmy Carter and how terrible that presidency was. But he doesn't really have answers. Yeah, but he doesn't really have any actual answers. It's just he knows how to play the crowd. Kind of like it was often said that, Kennedy was the first TV president, the first one who knew how to manipulate television and, use it to his advantage. And in a sense, Reagan's kind of doing the same thing because he was an actor. So, of course, it's going to serve him. I was just looking over Reagan's filmography. I forgot that he had been in so many movies, like practically like Mickey Rooney, Let's Make a Movie, several movies each year. It was crazy.
Yeah. Dude, I have a DVD of a Ronald Reagan movie. And like, I don't think I've ever seen a Ronald Reagan movie. And I have it just because one day I might want to watch one.
He was even president of the Screen Actors Guild once.
So was Fran Drescher.
Which I still don't understand, but that's a whole other thing.
Does that mean that Fran Drescher is going to be the next president of the United States? Let's hope so.
So meanwhile,
the nanny.
So meanwhile, we check in on Ed and Peggy. And they, of course, when we last saw them...
Ed and Peggy.
Lou.
Oh, my stars. I need a cigarette. Jesus
They kicked Lou out of the house when Ed was about to tell Lou the truth. And Peggy's like, oh, no, we're asking you to leave. And he kicked her out. Well, now we check in, and Ed follows Peggy down to the basement. And we see this basement as like an extension of Peggy's mind. It's got all of these magazines, like, Cosmopolitan and, Vogue, all this kind of stuff, and her defense for it is that, I need to keep up with the latest trends because I'm a beautician, and it's like, no, this is an extension of your psyche, and this is why this whole self-actualization crap, and and she keeps talking to Ed how we're going to go to California, and he's like, what are you talking about? We're going to buy the shop, we're going to live here, have a family, and that's it. But she's still got this stupid idea in her head that going to California is going to solve everything, and we're going to move to California.
Well, like, I think at this point we've decided that she's disconnected from reality.
Yes, and Ed is telling her as it is, and no, this is how it's going to be. He puts his foot down and leaves. Peggy, meanwhile, goes to pick up the car, and I'm not sure what.
There is a big point about all of this, is that, let's not forget, Lou showed up at the end of the last, like, episode 4, and he was like, bad shit is coming your way, you're gonna die, and if you don't come clean, you're gonna die. And now this is all happening to Ed and Peggy, and like, everything that they said was going to happen is coming true. Ed and Peggy are both oblivious to this.
Right.
They are stupid as shit.
Oh yeah, and there's
they are as stupid as me.
There is a really great joke that happens later in the episode that encapsulates that.
Do tell. Come on.
I'll get to that in a second. So,
all right.
Peggy first goes to pick up the car from the body shop, and I'm not sure what exactly triggered her change of heart, but she decides to do something for Ed for a change, and decides, you know what, I'm going to sell the car to the mechanic for half its value so we can get the money to put the down payment on the butcher shop.
I thought that was a lovely gesture.
It was. But then meanwhile,
yeah, back at Retardo.
Yeah, Bear's son is pestering Dodd still about wanting to be a part of this and be a part of the family business, and Dodd is secretly happy about this after his conversation with Bear, accusing him of you like taking orders from mom and a woman and all that stuff. So he decides to take Bear's son under his wing and sends him off with another one of their goons to go kill the butcher in Laverne.
The Butcher of Laverne.
And so they head down there and they're waiting in their car, and the goon is like, okay, remember, kid, no witnesses. He's like, okay. So we go inside the butcher shop and we see that Ed is talking with Noreen, who's the clerk there, and she's still reading that book, The Myth of Sisyphus, and she's talking about how life is really pointless and there's no point in you buying the butcher shop or anything because we're all going to die someday. And Ed is like, well, you still got to try, don't you? Which is echoing kind of what Gus Grimley said when when he was told the story about the man who tried to help everybody, or like the I can help robot, you still have to try. Yes. And Ed is completely beside himself that she has this very dark kind of nihilistic type of view from the world from reading this book. And he's like, my grandfather, he did all sorts of things his whole life. It was, went to the old grind every day, and all the way up to his 96th year. And she's like, and then what?
At which point he did what?
He died. And Ed is finally just fed up with her nonsense, and he just decides to go back into the back shop.
Well,
and
then he kills a guy.
No, something funny happens. So she has just put her foot down about how there's no point in anything because everybody's going to die, right?
True.
But then the kid
not only in the story.
Right, but then their son walks in, strikes up a conversation with Noreen, and they end up talking about Rocky. And he talks about how, oh, it's such a great movie. And she's like, yeah, it is, because he makes a comeback. And he's like, but Rocky loses in the end. And she's like, but it's okay because it's a comeback. And I'm like, you literally just told Ed that there's no point to anything and no point in getting excited about doing anything because of death. And now you're contradicting yourself by talking about how great Rocky is because he's persevering. It's like what are you doing? So that was a little odd.
I thought it was sort of keeping in the tone, and I caught that myself, but I thought it was sort of keeping in the tone of Fargo. Is that dichotomy, that contradiction, even, like, I don't want to be harsh about it, but even that hypocrisy, like, there is something interesting about a person's desire to be virtuous.
Mm-hmm.
And like they say that, and then it's like flipped completely on the inverse of what we've just seen them do. I like that. It's very Jerry from the movie. It's very Jerry.
Yeah. So I just thought that little contradiction was kind of interesting, the way that happens. But then we also saw that Ed was on the phone calling up one of his relatives trying to get money or whatever. And like, yeah, times are tough, and he says goodbye like aunt somebody or uncle whoever, because he was trying to get money for the shop because he doesn't know that Peggy has sold the car yet. And so the kid asks, where's I'm here to see Blomquist the butcher, and Noreen's like, oh, he's not the butcher, he's more like the assistant butcher. And Ed comes out, and you think the kid's about to do it, and then there's like a hard cut to him leaving the shop and going back into the car, and
we have to stop everything when Taylor G shows up. Anyway, continue.
He was too coward. He couldn't do it. Goes to use the payphone and calls home, just saying that, yeah, he really does want to go back to school, which is something that Floyd wanted to do as well to get him out of danger. And I guess even though he really wanted to help, it's like the reality of it finally confronting him. He just can't bring himself to do it. Yes, man. And I'm not sure what exactly changes his mind, because the goon gets out of the car, taps on the window like, come on, kid, we got to hurry up. But for some reason, he goes back in anyway, even though he just kind of called home because he wanted to, get out of it.
Sorry. Quick question. Is Yoda canon?
To Star Wars, yeah.
Great. Let's move on.
So Ed's in the back of the shop, and the kid walks in, and he's got the gun, and then Noreen walks out of the back.
Right?
Yeah, and she sees, and immediately she's concerned. She's like, Ed, and he fires his gun. The kid misses. It hits something, which causes a fire, a grease fire, and then the other goon comes in the back because he didn't get the job done. Kid gets hit with a gunshot, or almost get hit and grazed by one. There's a big fight that ends with Ed killing the goon with a meat cleaver, and Noreen insists that they have to help pull this kid out, even though he tried to kill them. So they save the kid. The butcher shop goes up in flames, and it's done. And even though it's clearly self-defense, like they were not, they didn't do anything to directly provoke this initial attack. Ed is getting in Noreen's face. He's like, it was self-defense, right? You saw me kill him. I was trying to save blah, blah. And she's like, well, yeah, Ed, I was there. I saw it.
Okay, yeah. But you know why he's doing that.
Because he's planning on leaving the scene.
Well, no, because also he is weighed with the guilt of actually putting a human body through a meat grinder already once this week. So I'm like, I get where he's sort of like, hey, see when those people attacked me and I did the thing in self-defense? Please tell them I did it in self-defense, because the last time I had to kill somebody, it was on purpose.
Well, no, because Ryan attacked him in the garage, and Ed didn't know what the hell was going on. So, he defended himself.
Oh my God, what a stupid fucking throw pillow Ed is.
Well, yeah,
I have no idea how he scored Peggy.
Well, like I said, I think Peggy more or less just chose him to go along with like the fantasy of.
So, like, Peggy was like a linebacker, and but no, Ed was a linebacker, and Peggy was a cheerleader. Like, is this what happened after Bring It On?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Coming next week, ladies and gentlemen, Cat and Scott review Bring It On.
No, we have more Fargo to get through first.
We do have more Fargo. That's probably the best.
So Ed flees the scene. He goes home to tell
True
Peggy.
Story. Yes.
And Peggy's trying to tell him, "Oh, I did it. I got the money, and we're gonna buy the shop, and it's great." And then Ed, in this great joke, he just looks to the portrait above the fireplace with the cow. And I'm like, that is a great
so
joke.
bad for him.
I felt bad for him. I just laughed out loud because I'm like, oh my God, Ed, you're just so, like you said, he's very simple. And he's like, he's completely beside himself as to what the hell has just happened. But before they could do anything, the cops show up to arrest Ed. And they take Ed away to the police station. And Lou's wife has showed up and has agreed to take Noreen home because...
Yes.
And Lou mentioned something about her being emancipated, which I didn't realize that was the case. He's like, oh, she's still a kid, emancipated or not. So he's like, oh, can you take her home? He asked his wife to take Noreen home. So she does.
I did hear that, and I was kind of curious about it.
Yeah.
I thought emancipated was a reference to that she was of voting age.
Oh, maybe that's it too.
That's what I heard.
Something that other kids sometimes use to become, free of their parents or whatever. But, and also Lou had since notified that idiot, what's his name, Schmidt up in Fargo about their suspicions about the rye. And then he reported back to Lou, well, we had a big shootout here between the Gerhardts and the Kansas City. It looked like equal amount of casualties and a dead city a commercial zoning inspector. And I'm not sure which character that was, but it's like, and Lou thought that was interesting, and so now that Lou has brought Ed in the police station, he sits him down and he's talking to him like, "Look, there's like 15 people dead up here. I told you what was going to happen, and it's happened." And Ed is trying to find a way to explain this, and he talks about the book that Noreen was reading, the Myth of Sisyphus. And there's two ways of reading it, of course. And he says,
"So, Kat, what is
this guy who?" Condemned to push a boulder up to the top of the hill, and it will roll down the hill every night, and he has to push it back up to the top of the hill every day for the rest of his days, for all eternity. And Ed is talking about it as a positive thing, like the determination of man. You can't get me down. I'll do the same thing every day. I'll do the same grind ever. Whereas other people, like Noreen, kind of use it as the futility of man and man's objectives, because you'll never really accomplish anything, which is part of why that myth is so enduring, because there's two very valid readings of it.
It's 90% of the reason that I'm on YouTube.
Yes. And so, and Lou doesn't know what the hell Ed's talking about and how this relates to this, and he just gets tired of hearing it, and Ed asks for a lawyer. So Lou goes down to the VFW, puts a call into the VFW, and they bring Carl, and Carl's trying to explain to Sonny, the mechanic, about the White House plumbers. He's like, "Oh, son, they were a special investigative unit," and blah, blah, blah. And the sheriff's deputy shows up and is like, "You got a customer, Carl," or I guess it's like a client. And he's like, "See, when there's a crisis at the highest level of power, who do they come get? They come get me." And he's so inebriated that Sonny has to, drive him down to the station.
Oh, it's so awesome. Okay, so, and who's the actor who plays Carl Weathers?
Nick Offerman. He is awesome in this.
He is absolutely amazing in a way. Like, it's I hate to say that he's his Parks and Recreation, Ron Swanson unfurled, but there is something about this that is a little bit more. There's something more about it, and it doesn't happen until the end. Like, this is something where when I encountered Nick Offerman in this role, I was like, oh, they just got Ron Swanson. And then when I watched it, specifically this episode, when he has a shotgun in his face,
we'll get to that.
I would, yeah, we will. But I'm just like, oh my stars. Nick Offerman's a good actor.
That's what I said. That scene is my favorite Nick Offerman scene in anything ever. But we'll get to that. So he goes down to the station to represent Carl.
I don't know.
Or to represent.
He plays a saxophone.
Meanwhile, back at Dodd's house, or at the Gerhardt Ranch.
Yes.
Simone comes out to tell Bear that you've got a phone call. And it's, of course, his son Charlie being given his one phone call from jail, having been hauled in for attempted murder. And he goes in to get the phone, and Dodd decides to take this opportunity to talk to Simone about the life of a whore. She's like 5 good years, 5 bad years.
This is a father-son conversation, or father-daughter conversation.
And then you're greased out by some grease stain after that. He's being a total prick. Yeah. And out of the blue, Bear just comes charging out of the house like a linebacker, just pounds Dodd off the patio onto the ground, starts beating the shit out of him. And it only stops because Hansi shows up with a rifle and puts it to Bear, and he's like, you better stop that now.
Why did Bear attack Dodd? It's because in the midst of the argument about this is how a daughter should act, and then Bear comes out and says, you took my son to a crime.
No, you put my son up to being one of your friggin', assassin hooligans, and he's not on top of that shit.
Don't think you're virtuous, you fucking son of a bitch.
One of the reasons that Charlie couldn't get Ed shot is because he's got that mild case of cerebral palsy. So when the gun jammed, he had a hard time trying to getting his hand to get on the gun to reload it. And so Bear
I'm just not taking anybody with cerebral palsy to go and do assassinations.
So Bear was just obviously
my choice.
And here's the thing:
don't apply.
This is another thing. Dodd is like, oh, I'm gonna belt you. You're gonna get the buckle or the strap, and he's like, oh, the buckle, you asshole. And Bear takes off.
Floyd shows up.
Here's what I don't get. Bear takes off his jacket like he's gonna take it. I'm like, dude, this guy sent your son to do something. Like, why are you sitting here taking this shit from him?
Little brother.
Oh, fuck that shit. I mean, that doesn't.
I know, but fuck off. He's Fredo.
And then Floyd finally runs out because Simone went to fetch her. She's like, that's enough of this. Enough of your bullshit.
Floyd is trying to keep the family together and saying, she's out there and she says to Dodd, it's like, you will not divide this family.
Yeah, and she's also like, you go kill that butcher. He doesn't live tonight. And he's like, he's already dead, Ma. He just doesn't know it. And he tells Bear, you go back, and she tells Bear, go and get my grandson. And so a whole posse takes off to go and...
Cat.
Yeah.
The more we talk about season 2 of Fargo, the more I realize that white people don't like black people, because season 4 is exactly the same thing. I think the only reason you like season 2 better than season 4 is because you're white.
No.
Yes.
I don't like season 4 because there's way too many damn characters. It's very bland.
I want to do a list.
Of what?
Of all the characters and interactions that we have to deal with in season 2 and season 4. And if there is more in season 4, you're not racist. If there is more in season 2, you are.
Dumbass.
Yes, I am. This is true.
No, season 4
everyone knows this.
It's worse, and we already covered why. So, okay. And your argument doesn't really hold water here because Mike Milligan is literally the only black character in this season.
I love him, though. He's my favorite.
And so, anyway, they all take off to go get Charlie out of jail.
I like Hansi.
And meanwhile, Floyd kind of has suspicions of Simone and asks her, are you with us? And she's like, well, what do you mean, Grandma? And he's like, are you with us? Because Simone has just secretly gotten off the phone with Mike to tell him that the whole posse took off and that nobody's at the house. And she asked Mike to kill her father. And he's like, do you want me to send a message? And she's like, yeah, tell him to eat my grits. And of course, Simone's a bit of an idiot.
Kiss my grits.
Kiss my grits or whatever. And she's kind of being an idiot here because she just told him that everybody is like the house is, like. So when Floyd is telling her, you need to be on our side and we need to stand strong and lead through this time. And all of a sudden they see these people coming, like, what's that? And then Mike and the other Kitchen brother and all the other Kansas City guys just open fire. And Floyd knocks Simone to the ground. The bullets are flying.
It was out of the blue.
Yeah, just total massacre. Mike just took Simone's information as, oh, cool, the Gerhardt ranch is unprotected. So he just goes there and just mows everybody down. And we don't even get to see the aftermath of that yet from these 2 episodes. Meanwhile, Dodd goes to Peggy's house where Hank has gone to see Peggy about, he's like, Peggy, Sonny gave us permission to search your car, and we're going to go over it with microscopic detail to find any blood. Now, I know you hit Rye Gerhardt with your car, and there's 15 bodies up in Fargo over this mess. It might have been you who started this whole thing for hitting him with the car, and you need to. He's basically giving a tougher version of the speech that Lou tried to give them the night before, and she's got all of her magazines piled up in the kitchen now. I'm not sure why she moved a lot of them in there, and she's trying to defend it by.
They've always been there. They've always been there.
Okay, so she's trying to defend how I got to keep up with trends, and California, the whole world isn't just Minnesota, And he's like, Peggy, you need to come down to reality. It's better if you tell me what happened now than we finding the facts and having to bring you in. And
she does not explain the square root of Jack Squat. She does not say anything. Ted Danson is sitting down on her couch and being like, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, you are aware that you're gonna die. What is going on? Why didn't you just go to the hospital? And she's like, oh, you think about the future and you want to go places and you just think, how do I get there? And so if you got to get rid of some things, that's the way you do it. And it's like, it reinforces what Mike said in episode 3 or so, maybe 4. And he's like, oh, no, you guys are really unfriendly, but you have a very polite way of saying it. And it's like, that is exactly what Peggy is doing. It's like, well, I had to get out of a bad situation, and I thought that it would be best for both of us if I got it so it would be better for me. It is absolutely haunting how dead behind the eyes Peggy is. And it is tragic how much Ed is going to go to the ends of the earth to protect her. I am on the edge of my seat to find out where these characters end up. I don't think they're evil. I think they're dumb.
Yeah, why again, a typical Fargo trait, dumb people doing one little stupid thing that spirals and snowballs. Don't watch any more spoiler videos for breakdowns until then, though.
I was excited for Hansi.
I will get to that next week.
Yay.
So,
I saw him use a machine gun.
Stop. We're going to get to there next week.
Okay.
And anyway, you would have thought that Peggy would have just lied in this instance and said that, oh, I recognized him and I didn't think the crime family would be understanding, so we decided to cover it up. That would have been the smart thing to say. Even though it's a lie, there'd be no way to prove that was a lie. But like you said, she just decides to talk around this actualization thing and how, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, hello, DJ Play Nice. Thank you for bumping the algorithm. And so Peggy doesn't really get to explain much before Dodd and his goons show up looking for Ed. And Hank tells Peggy to get, in the basement or barricade yourself somewhere.
Yeah.
And Dodd's like, we're looking
don't die.
And there's a really funny exchange where he's like, we're looking for the butcher. He's like, well, you just missed him. The police took him down to the station, and it's like a fortress. You'll never get in. And he's like, you could just be saying that because you think I'm stupid and going to believe you. And he's like, son, there's not enough room in a steamer trunk for the amount of stupid that I think you are. It's great.
If you're a Ted Danson fan, you have to see this show.
Yes, this is great.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Hansi has been sneaking around through the back of the house, and hearing the door open behind him, Ted Danson thinks that it's Peggy, And he's like, Peggy, I told you. And Hansi just knocks him on the forehead, which better than actually killing him. Which I'm surprised they didn't just shoot him. But okay,
I was so afraid.
I was too. I'm like, oh God, I love this character. Please don't kill him right now.
Please don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die. But Hansi was in there. And I was like, he's going to shoot him in the back. And on the plus side, that didn't happen. He just gets butted in the head. And again, this is what made me sort of on Team Hansi, is that it's like he didn't kill Ted Danson. So we're cool so far.
Yeah,
Who he killed? Who did Hansi kill that I like?
One of the Kitchen Brothers and Joe Bulo. Brad Garrett?
Didn't like the Kitchen Brothers.
No,
what? Who's the other one?
Brad Garrett, Joe Bulo.
Yeah, but
that's the only. And then he killed the Skip Sprang.
Just who's Skip?
The
fuck Skip. The typewriter guy? Get out of my face.
Well, I can't refer to anything you have already watched from that video, but those are the only people of significance that Hansi has killed so far.
Okay, well, he's gonna kill more people because he's a fucking killer.
Stop. We're not getting to that yet.
All right.
Hansi goes down to the police station because Dodd tells him to go there. Dodd's like, I'm going to clean up here. So Dodd and a couple of his goons go into the house. They go to the basement. And again, we see this is like a labyrinth extension of Peggy's psyche, completely crazy. And he's moving through the basement, and they hear a rustling of some kind. And the first goon you hear gets taken out. And they're not sure what happened. But they're moving along, and they hear another crash, and Dodd freaks out, spins around, and shoots one of his own goons dead on the stairway. He's like, damn it. So he starts moving around through the...
Because he's an idiot.
Yeah, because he's an idiot. He starts moving around through the maze of magazines. He's like, when I find you, darling, I'm going to make you bleed. And then
Did it remind you of Ghostbusters a little bit?
No.
No, like the library at the beginning of the first Ghostbusters? A little bit. Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
So Peggy jumps out of nowhere and just hits Dodd a couple times with the electric taser baton.
Oh yeah, no, the taser, because he dropped it. The cattle prod, yes. Yeah,
the first guy she attacked off screen and probably got his cattle prod. So she hits Dodd with that several times, and he's like, "You bitch!" And he's being, his misogynistic self. So then she just hits him a couple more times, and so now
that, I have to be fair. That is the sexiest I have ever found, Kirsten Dunst.
So meanwhile, down at the police station,
yes,
Carl Weathers has shown up. He's inebriated, and he walks in, and he's giving the big patriotic speech as he's drunk off his ass. He's like, "Oh, hey, Denise," interrupting his speech, talking about how he's
we the people.
He compares himself to George Washington crossing the Delaware, coming to represent his client.
I will unshackle the unjust.
And Lou's like, "Yeah, hey, Carl," and they send him into the back room.
Katie, how's it going?
And he's talking about how paranoid he is that the man is listening in. So he's like, "How about you nod for no and shake your head for yes? And I'm going to say some letters here.
There are people watching."
And he says, "Are you G or are you NG for guilty, not guilty?" And Ed's like, huh? And he's like, uh-huh. And Carl just leaves the room, and Lou's like, "Carl, you got another 26 minutes. He's like, I will take. He's like, he's not being.
That's all I needed to prove that boy's innocence.
He's like, "I'm gonna go rouse the judge from his sleeping quarters to correct this injustice immediately." And Lou's like, "He's not being held on charges, Carl." "Oh, that'll make
no charges.
So
and then a gang of marauders with shotguns show up.
Yes,
and this drunken idiot becomes the last bastion of hope.
Well, not yet. Not yet. He walks outside first and sees Bear show up with all the guns, and Carl immediately turns around and goes back inside and tries to barricade the door. And Lou's like, "Carl, what are you doing?" Pulling the bench in front of the double doors. And he's like, "The jackbooted thugs are here." And Lou looks outside and he sees it. He's like, "Lock the back door, break all the light bulbs and put them out back so we can hear them walking. Call the sheriff's department and tell them that they need everybody here yesterday." And then Lou goes out to confront the mob with Bear pointing a shotgun right in his face. And he's like, "Well, we called everybody, and they're going to be down here in about 40 minutes or so." And Bear's like, "Well, I'm just here for my kids, so we don't need to make it any more complicated than that." And he's like, "No, yeah, I remember you from the ranch, and that's not happening." And so Lou just, goes back inside. Hansi we see sneaking along the side, and Sonny, who drove Carl over to the police station,
and the cinematography for this sort of motion, like Hansi, again, I have a boner for Hansi, but like he's going around, and it is very precise. Like it is a theme. Whenever you see Hansi, he is moving slowly and with dedication. It's really good, and this season has done well with the split screen cinematography.
Yes.
Yes.
So Lou goes to get Ed, and he's like, "Yeah, there's a lynch mob here to kill you, Ed, like I told you." And so he and Ed sneak out the back and take off into the woods, and Hansi secretly follows them, which I thought was surprising that Lou would just, abandon everybody at the station. But okay. Carl, meanwhile, decides, and one of the last things Lou says before he leaves.
I thought, you know what? I just watched Mad Max 2 yesterday, and I thought that he was taking away Ed to try and make it so everyone would give up and stop attacking the police station because he had the thing that everybody wanted.
Well, no, because Bear told Lou that he was here for his son, not there for Ed.
But Bear does switch it and say, then give us Ed.
Right, but the thing is, if you take Ed out of the back and leave everybody, then he's just going to still storm the precinct anyway for his son.
Carl Weathers takes care of that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Lou's decision to abandon everybody at the station.
Is this a podcast, or is this like are we hanging out at a cottage? No, are we allowed to just like ba?
No, I'm doing that because you're drunkenly getting ahead of yourself. I'm trying to say
that is obviously fair.
That Lou doesn't. He take Ed out of the equation, but he doesn't know what's going to happen there. It's like you abandoned everybody to be left with, frankly, a bunch of other dimwits to protect or to stop the lynch mob from breaking in and rescuing, springing Charlie from jail. And one of the last things Lou says before he leaves is like, well, Carl, Charlie's your new client. He's like, he's not my client. Well, he is now, Carl. And so Carl goes back in to see Charlie.
What a great interaction that was. I loved it.
Yeah, he just kind of sizes him up and looks at him and doesn't really say anything. And we get to my favorite ever Nick Offerman scene in anything, where he walks back outside. He's had only one little cup of coffee. He's still pretty inebriated. Bear puts the shotgun to his face, and he gives a speech basically telling him that, look, if you spring him now, he will be a fugitive for the rest of his life to be shot on sight. At best, for an attempted murder, maybe 10 years. He's looking to getting out in 5, maybe less. And because Bear is sensible and didn't want his son to be involved in this in the first place, he listens to Carl and hears reason. That Carl's right that, your son will be a fugitive. He will be shot on sight. Do you really want this for your son? He seems to have a bright future. You said he told me he's enrolled in school or going to go back to all this kind of stuff. And Bear surprisingly sees reason, and the drunken Carl Weathers has saved the day. And at Bear's orders, the mob backs down and drives back to the farm or to the ranch.
Now, okay, and that was very well put.
Excellent scene. I totally undersold it. But even if you guys don't want to watch the show, you guys should just watch that scene. Nick Offerman talking with Angus Sampson, who plays Bear. That confrontation is so good.
But the juxtaposition in the episode of Carl Weathers walking in to the jailhouse, the police station, what have you, and being so brash and certain of himself, quoting George Jefferson, and just going all apeshit, and then walking out and being tasked by the law to save people, and then being confronted with just carnival hooligans, and then being able to make it so that it all works out for everybody without gunfire. The quality of the acting, the quality of the story and dialogue, it's not boring and it's not contrived. It's not like plot armor. Everything is sold in that. And it was incredible to see it the way it was. Just the whole thing was constructed. No, I am a fan of this show.
Yeah,
Who
and
directed this episode? I don't know.
I have to double check, but the
Sure.
last scene is Lou taking Ed through the woods, and they find that Hank is driven up alongside of the road, and Lou sees that Hank's got the head injury. He's like, oh, geez. And Hank catches him up as to what happened at the house. And now, presumably, Peggy is gone. Dodd is gone. The bodies are in the basement. We know that the Gerhardt family has been attacked at the ranch. We don't know the outcome yet. We know that the Bears mob is heading back to the ranch, and we'll soon discover this. The butcher shop has since burned down, so Ed's dream is pretty much gone. And it's like,
it's insane.
And then out of the blue, Ed just takes this opportunity while Lou and Hank are talking to run like hell. And Lou tries to give chase, and Hank's like, don't bother. We know where he's going. And so Lou's like, okay. So he just gets in the car.
He's running on a road. And
it's a dirt road. And it's like, it's funny. I love how Hank and Lou are just.
It's like the Charlize Theron from Prometheus. It's like you can't turn left or right. We know where you're going. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and so Hank is just like, I love how he gets Lou to just shrug his. It's like, yeah, they're idiots. He's an idiot. It's not a problem. We know where he's going. Let's just go. And so they don't even try driving after him. They just drive away in the opposite direction. But then Hansi comes out of the woods, having heard, the updates, and with his rifle, and he chooses to walk in the direction of Ed. And we know that the reason Hansi took Dodd's side in the beginning and lying to Floyd about Ed being some undercover Kansas City hitman is because he recognized that Dodd was actually correct, that war was the only option. They needed to stand their ground rather than being steamrolled. But now it's like you have to deal with the consequences of that because Dodd has, royally fucked up. And I think that's the moment when Hansi has heard what Hank had to say about what happened at the house that, okay, this is starting the beginning. And we will find out in the next episode where how it's kind of shaky in the history of crime in the Minnesota when Hansi started turning. But that's, again, we'll see. I'm not going to spoil it.
That's a story for another day.
But again, these two episodes had really great acting, a lot of great
suspense.
Hey, Kat. What?
Hey, Kat.
What?
You know what I heard?
What?
I heard that Hansi kills Dodd.
And we're going to get to that later. We're not going to cover that yet because that doesn't actually happen.
Do you want to do the chat? Is it a dream sequence? Are you telling me I was taken in by a dream sequence?
Well, this is a show which features people weirding out when they see UFOs, so there
are UFOs. You got a good point.
And it's also true now. 6 episodes into the season, we've not had any supernatural elements yet. Each season has had something vaguely.
The entire reason that Rye died was a supernatural element.
No, it would be science fiction, not supernatural.
That what?
Spaceship is. If it is, we don't even know if it's a spaceship. It's just like he saw something.
Let's ask the chat: is a spaceship supernatural?
No, it's science fiction.
I think it's supernatural for humans.
In answer to your earlier question, the episodes were directed by Jeffrey Reiner. The 5th episode was called The Gift of the Magi, and the 6th episode was called Rhinoceros. Okay.
Captain Infinity says 360 pages total, and I say that's too long. Burn half of them. Well, don't you think? Too long.
It depends on what you're reading.
Well, I'm a big fan of the 196 page.
Of what?
A book.
No, it has everything to do with it has everything to do with whether or not the story calls for it.
I think brevity is key.
Well, brevity is humor. It has nothing to do with the length.
All right. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably am. So did the episode end or what?
Yeah. Like I said, the Gerhardts have been attacked. The lynch mob was talked down. The butcher shop is burned to the ground, so Ed's dream is gone. Peggy is taken off with Dodd somewhere. And so
To
now
God?
Hansi is
Peggy
kind of
hasn't taken off to God. She's taken off to naive. I'd like to buy the world a Coke. It's insane. Everything is going insane. And
Yeah.
I love it. The only person there are two people in this show that I trust. It's Lou and Mike. I really want to see Lou and Mike hook up again. And I don't mean hook up.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you. But I just want to see them have a conversation again and find out what happens. I also, in one of my dalliances into YouTube videos, I find out what happens to Mike, and I'm very upset.
Don't go further into those dalliances. It'll ruin everything.
Well, it's all ruined. You already know what they are.
No, but I'm not reviewing it in that. I'm not recapping it in that sense. I'm giving you what my honest opinions were at the time I first saw the show, episode per episode.
Well, no, but I'm on the YouTube and I talk about Fargo, and so when I start looking at Fargo things, they always tell me, "Hey, this is a Fargo thing."
Just watch the episodes you have. Don't dive into all the breakdowns and stuff because it's going to be out of context, and you're going to be wondering what's going on.
I do my best, but this is the last season that we're doing.
Well, until they get the next season in a couple of years or whatever, but
which brings me to an excellent question.
Yeah.
When we are finished with the Fargo, you want to do some Twin Peaks?
I don't have that. I was thinking I want to talk to you about that after the show.
Okay. Anyway, do you want to say anything to the chat? I don't want to say anything to the chat.
Well, no, I want to see what other chats we have. Let's see. Any other good chats?
You use a mouse. I don't want to use a mouse. I wanted to pee and smoke.
Did we ever find out about our promo giveaways?
No. Apparently they only work in America, and at this point I'm not willing to shuffle.
Is Eugene Bird in Canada or something?
I don't know where he lives.
Okay, here's something. I got something here. So DVB says in regards to whether it's science fiction or supernatural for UFOs, he says actual alien craft are probably supernatural, but in fiction, Kat is right. There's science fiction in that case. Again, I'm not sure about supernatural because if the idea is that it's simply, like, say for the sake of argument, an alien from another planet, then it's just another species from another planet. It's not really.
But that's not science fiction. It's not fiction.
Well, I mean, science fiction in terms of not being proven yet, but I don't see how that's necessarily supernatural.
I think that the infusion of aliens into a earthly understanding is not science fiction because it wouldn't be fiction, and therefore their introduction would be an expansion of our natural world, thusly supernatural.
Captain Infinity
it's like if a ghost showed up and it was like, "Hello, I'm
Captain Infinity says if the spaceship is the Enterprise, it time traveled and is thus downgraded to science fantasy.
I'm not even willing at this point. I'm not even willing to use the term science fiction. I'm just a science fantasy guy at this point. So if you have lasers and faster than light, science fantasy. Transporters, science fantasy.
DVB says, please do Better Call Saul next after Fargo. That is an excellent show. I loved it so much more than Breaking Bad.
I'm not going to watch any of that. Like, why don't I watch Boston Legal? Sounds boring. Thanks, Trip.
I wasn't interested in Boston Legal either, but this isn't really as much of a legal drama as you would think it is.
No, I don't care.
I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on that show. Well, I would be happy to review that show, give you my thoughts on it. If Scott doesn't want to do it, I can find somebody for that. We could do more than one show a week for that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Captain Infinity says, wow, we actually agree, Scotty.
Hot diggity.
Yes, hot diggity indeed. Somebody
clip that. So is that it? Can we go? I want to go smoke.
So. We've gotten through the chat. I don't see any other comments from our other regulars here. Thanks to DVB and Captain Notfinity, Herc130, DJ Play Nice,
Eugene Bird.
Yes, Eugene Bird, definitely. And Suzanne Eckstein, thank you for coming. we will be back next Thursday at 7 to cover the 7th and 8th episodes of the season. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
We are doing it slowly because I like things to last.
Well, we do only have 2 episodes left on the Fargo universe before we are finished with that, at which point
4.
we will rank the seasons as Lemon Pie asked us to do. I didn't. Oh, Lemon Pie was not here tonight.
Lemon.
Because this wasn't promoted properly because of the shakeup last week. So
there's another one of them codes in the chat I posted.
All right.
It's probably for Eugene.
Oh, Eugene's at peace. Yep, peace. Captain Notfinity says, tell Gavin she was right about Temple of Doom. She was right. Okay. Thank you, Captain Notfinity. I do recall, last week you were upset about it, or 2 weeks ago, and now you've changed your mind. Okay, cool. I like people talking to just great. And last comment here.
I don't. I refuse.
Says, enjoyed the stream. Take care, Scott, Cotty, Captain Eugene, Lemon. And thanks to everyone. And I guess that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
So I'll see you next week, and we'll talk about what episodes?
7 and 8.
7 and 8?
Yes. They come after 5 and 6.
I was really hoping you would say, yeah, you betcha.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.